Okie dokie. So lesson 20 is about multiplying and dividing fractions. This video will focus on multiplying fractions. The next video will focus on dividing fractions because this one will use one model and the other video will use the other model. So hopefully you did the first page of the document in Canvas that asked you to that showed you how to model with a rectangle how this works. And so I'm going to do this one. So this rectangle represents 1 unit. So what does this mean? Well, this means 2/3 of 3/4. So if we're going to do 2/3 of 3/4, we had better know what 3/4 looks like. So here are fourths, and we want 3 of those fourths. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3/4. We want 2/3 of those 3/4. Well, what does 2/3 look like? Well, here are thirds, right? And we want 2 of those thirds. We want this third, and we want this third. So when we talk about 2/3 of 3/4, we're looking for the red-blue area. We're looking for this area. This is 2/3 of 3/4. So there are 4, 8, 12 little squares, little rectangles, and 6 of them are colored in. So this is 6/12. Now, you and I learned when we were young that we multiply across the top and we multiply across the bottom, and that is true. And then the 6/12 reduces down to 1/2, and that is true. Some of us even learned that we should cancel the 2 and the 4 before we multiply, and you can do that. But if we're trying to model for children, and that's the purpose of this course, if we're trying to model for children why 2/3 times 3/4 is 6/12, this is why that is the case. And similarly over here, we're looking for 3/5 of 1/6, so we need sixths, and we want 1 of those sixths, and then we want 3/5 of that 1/6. So fifths going this way, we want 3 of those. And so what do we got? We have 3 little rectangles out of the 30 rectangles. That's 3/30. So should you know how to crank things out? Should you know that, okay, this 3 and this 6 reduce because they have a common factor of 3. 3 divided by 3 is 1. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And then we multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. Should you know how to do that? Yes. But the question in our course is why? What is a model that explains this to a child? Those are the questions you get asked in this course. Okay. You should also know how to do things like this. So there are 2 ways to skin this proverbial cat. One is to say this is 1 plus 1/3 times 1 plus 1/2, and then we use the distributive property, everybody with everybody else. That is not the way I traditionally teach people to do this. I teach people to recognize that 1 and 1/3, that's the same as 4/3. And 1 and 1/2, that's the same as 3/2. And then we can multiply across, multiply across. We can multiply across, and 12 divided by 6 is 2. Similarly, this is 9/4 times 17 fifths, and we can work that out similarly. 9 times 17, goodness sakes alive, that's 153, and 4 times 5 is 20, and that does not reduce. Should this make sense? Probably. A number that's a little bit bigger than 2 times a number that's a little bit bigger than 3 is a number that's a little bit bigger than 7. So that pretty much makes sense. You should know how to do that. Now, some people are going to say, oh, well, this is 2 plus 1/4, and this is 3 plus 2/5, and they're going to use their good old-fashioned algebra 1 to multiply everybody by everybody else. That's fine. Then you get a common denominator, and you add things together like we did in the addition subtraction lesson. We get a common denominator, we add straight across, no problem. You can do it that way. I think that's a little bit more confusing for small people. I think they are much better off turning things into improper fractions and then doing the thing they're good at, which is multiplying across the numerators, multiplying all the denominators. That's my view. Hope it is helpful to you. The next video will be about division. Hopefully you have done the cookie activity.